Welcome. I'm Analysis Paralysis, and today in the Draft Guide for Beginners, we're talking about the mental aspects of trying to get good at this, psychology of magic or mindset, and I believe that there's a particular way of thinking and handling emotions that will be helpful, and I want to share those ideas with you. Let's begin. My take on magic and drafting in particular is that it's fun, challenging, and frustrating. There's a long way from beginner to novice to intermediate to advanced drafter. There's a lot of lessons that need to be learned along the way. So if you have it in you to be patient, then I think that will be helpful. Because sometimes I feel like a child asking the parents in the front, are we there yet? We're not there yet, buddy. It's a long ways to go. So you need patience to keep going. Secondly, Jim Davis, a professional magic player and content creator, wrote that there are three kinds of players. Those who play to have fun, those who play to improve, and those who say they want to improve, but they play to have fun. And this holds painfully true for me. I say I want to improve, but then I lack the motivation or focus or both and just play for fun. Whenever I can focus on improving, I'm going to see results. But what I'm saying to you is be patient with your own learning process. And if you don't have the focus or motivation to actually strive to get better, just play for fun. Next up, getting good at drafting means improving at a wide range of situations. So something that can help you here is recognizing your learning style, what works for you. And when I go to myself, when I try to read up on a new set or I come across a new or old article about drafting or magic, then I often struggle and fail to understand what I'm reading. But when I practice the concept or I play around with a new set, then I can go back to the study room and then learn more. So like a study, practice, a kind of loop thing. And I guess you could call it learning by doing, but with a sense of direction. So that works for me. Other times I watch streamers draft, and then I try to kind of put myself in their shoes, or I call it backseating, when you're trying to find lines of play. And if they make, if they agree with me, then I'm like, yeah, that was a good one. But if they can't make other choices, I'll interact with the streamer and ask, why did you do X instead of Y? And hopefully they'll tell me. So whenever this happens, I'd call it a learning opportunity, and now I can improve my gameplay by just listening to the streamer in that particular situation. So it's watch, backseat, ask questions in a loop. So maybe learning by watching. Problem though is that it easily goes into autopilot when I just lose focus and I kind of share for the streamer and I'm not engaged. And that's, if they gotta win, sweet. If they lose, well. But when it works, it's a learning opportunity. And the last way I think of learning is to go over past draft sessions. And this is a tough one because it requires a lot of motivation and focus. You can do it on your own, or you can seek feedback from someone to kind of go over it with you. And the draft section, you can ask yourself, why did I make this pick over that pick? What were the considerations? And when you build your deck, it can be like, why did you put this card in your deck over that card? What was your intention? What do you think your deck is trying to do? And did you like it? And then lastly, in a match where you watch a replay, what were you trying to do? What was the line of play? And you're asking yourself, why? You're trying to figure that out. And I find it really hard to do on my own, but when I get around to do it, it's almost always helpful. And maybe there are other ways of learning, but when I try to get, conscious decision-making into my play style over just autopiloting decks, then I notice that I'm improving over time as I engage with study, practice, or watching, backseating, asking questions. So we're trying to get out of the autopilot mindset and into more like active learning. because when you start playing Magic, you're going to do your best, and as you improve, you're going to recognize that you did so many mistakes. And there's a very beautiful discussion right now about women in programming, that it seems like they really want to be perfect from the get-go, and they don't dare to be beginners, and they give up far too soon, whereas the male counterparts are okay with being beginners early, and then they're more like they're trying and trying and trying until they get there. And I think this translates well into Magic. It's not about what we're trying to be. We're trying to make optimal plays, and we're trying to notice mistakes, but it's not forbidden to make mistakes. So the approach here is more like try, lose and learn, improve and win. And I think it's so liberating that the abilities that we need to improve, or that are needed to be good at drafting, can be developed through hard work. Next, handling pressure is going to be important in Magic. But the first part I want to touch on is that Magic is, to my knowledge, the first game that had a loot box in it. And the loot box was the draft booster. And in it were cards of different rarities. You had the common ones that were really common and not so valuable. And then you had more scarce resources. And some of the really rare cards were really valuable, as the collectors found the game, and that the competitive players wanted these cards and were willing to pay a lot of money for them. So suddenly you had the loot box with the gambling and jackpot mechanics built into the game. So there's a compelling game design aspect to Magic. But not only is it, the original loot box mechanic in Magic, it's also fun, creative, competitive. It has a long learning curve. You can just throw yourself at it and get wrapped up for a long time. So it's compelling in so many ways. Recognizing that Magic is compelling is a good start. And setting boundaries for yourself so you don't play more than you set out to do, or pay more than you set out to pay, will be a good approach of having boundaries and not letting the game play you. Okay. And secondly, if it's a close game and you're almost ahead or you're almost behind, and maybe this advantage and disadvantage is going back and forth like ebb and flow, then you really need to bring your A game to get the win. And for me, it's stressful to be on that level of focus, and other times the odds are stacked against me, and maybe I have one card out of the 20 that remains that is my out. Like, this is my answer to this situation. If I can get it, there's a path where I can win. But there's so many other ways where I'll just lose slowly. And recognizing that there's very few lines of play left, and you need to orchestrate a situation where you can win, not just lose slowly, that is called playing to your outs. And having the mental clarity to recognize that requires stress management. And the alternative is to become overcome with analysis paralysis, and then you don't see the line of play. You'll just freeze up and see run out of time, and then you'll lose. And the pillars that good stress management is built is a healthy lifestyle, good sleep, regular exercise, and a balanced diet. On a group level, this holds out over time. This is just the way to go. I noticed that I have more access to this kind of self-regulation when I lead a healthy lifestyle. And when I'm sleep deprived, or I had too much junk food in my diet, or I missed my runs, then I'm more prone to analysis paralysis or tilting when bad things happen. The upside with good stress management is the ability to maintain a relaxed focus over time. And this will be crucial at competitive events, whether you bring the sweat to a pre-release event at the local gaming store, or if you're in a regional championship qualifier. So the relaxed focus that we can maintain over time is very desirable. Next point I want to make about stress and pressure, Magic and randomness. See, there's a built-in randomness into the game where you have lands and you have spells. And if you play limited, then you have your minimum amount is a 40 card deck, and you'll usually have 16 to 17 lands in that deck. That's roughly 40% lands, and the remaining 23 will be spells. So 40-60 split of lands and spells. And that means on average, if you take the top card of your deck, it's going to be 40% of the time it's going to be a land. And I hope this holds up. If you take the top 5 cards, on average, 2 of them will be lands and 3 will be spells. But if you played a lot of Magic, you'll know that sometimes the top 5 cards will contain 1 land or 4 lands or 0 lands or 5 lands. And this means that you can do everything right in a game and still lose to your bad luck and opponent's incredible luck. And this means that the best players don't have a 100% win rate. It tops out roughly at 70% in best of 1. And also this distribution of randomized outcome with, probable outcomes happening often and improbable outcomes happening more seldom. This distribution of its outcomes is called variance. And my point that I want to make with you is that variance is cruel and uncaring. Deal with it. That's my advice. It's not out to get you. The shuffler is not rigged. There's nothing wrong with the game. This is how it is. This is an inbuilt randomness that is a part of the great and the not so great part of Magic. And if you don't like this inbuilt randomness, there are other games to play where they don't have a random event, like chess. And I'm sure there are other games as well. But variance is a part of Magic, and learn to deal with it. Hey, you made it all the way to the end of the chapter. Nice. Good luck out there, and I'll see you next time.